This is the Hofstra Radio Alumni Audio Yearbook. Today is March 13th, 2025. Please tell us your name and the years you were at Hofstra Radio.
So my name is Aasha Lewis Redway, and I was at Hofstra for graduate studies in public relations, and I believe that was beginning 2018, I believe, or mid 2018, and I graduated December 2020.
Okay. Did you have any titles or positions at the station?
So I started off engineering. I was just kind of helping the collective when it came to the news. And then I took it upon myself to just attempt to try to be a music producer. And I became one of the producers for the Hip Hop Basement.
Okay. So other than the Hip Hop Basement, do you remember any shows or programs that you worked on?
Oh my goodness. It rotated. Oh my gosh. I did a few, but I can't remember all of them. I think the reason why I remember the hip hop basement so well because I kind of intertwined my original passion or my passion business in the midst of it.
hmm
It's called Genius RS, so I think that's why I remembered it so well. But I moved around different shows, different times, or whatever, just to cover the slots.
Okay. All right. I'm sure we'll cover that as we go along. When
Mhm.
you were on the air, did you have any nicknames or on-air personas?
No, I didn't. I really, honestly, I just really felt like I came in and I just set my full government because my
Mm.
background is journalism as well. So I felt I don't know, honestly, I just didn't feel like I was there long enough to really have like how I was in undergrad, where it's just like, okay, I'm known as twin because I'm an actual twin. But no, I don't know. I wasn't there long enough.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. So I like to go back to the beginning with everyone, and it's a two-part question. Answer however makes sense to you. But I always like to know what brings people to the radio station to begin with, and then if you could sort of paint a picture of what the station was like when you got there, maybe people that you met or what it looked like. What was going on when you first arrived at WRHU?
I'm gonna be honest, it was like busy. It's
Yeah.
it's because obviously, like I said, I was going there for grad school, and I my focus was public relations. Since I came from such a media background, and obviously my classes were in the communications building where the station is located. I remember when I came there, it was, oh my God, I was like, I felt so old. I felt old. I was like, yo, these young kids, you don't know. But everybody thought I was their age because I have such a baby face. But it was just busy. And it was just, I was like, I never saw a college radio station just be so busy. And I'll, guess like the couple of months or weeks or whatever that I was there, I'll just literally just walk in the hallway past it, go to class. As much as I was into journalism and writing, and I didn't think that I could intertwine something like that until literally one day, I just was walking towards my car because I parked in the back of the building, and something just in my head was just like, turn around and just go in the office and, ask a question. And I literally turned around and I remember that's the first person I met was I think Eli.
hmm
Um, she was the I believe she was the station manager at the time, if I remember correctly. And I just asked, and next thing I know, she was like, "Oh, we actually starting the training coming up. If you want to, sign up or come or whatever the deal is." And I was like, "Okay, sure. That's I'll take a look into it." And that's just what it was, and everybody was nice. And then, sometimes you don't always expect that, but that was the rapport, and I went with it.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. Just that moment of walking to your car and then taking that chance and that opportunity and like a lot of people they're prepared and they think about it a lot and they're ready to go in and it's all part of a big plan, but you just on the spur of the moment just went in and took that chance. And I guess I wanted to go back because you said it was busy, and I have an image in my mind of what a busy radio station looks like. Was it busy in a good way, or was it busy like what is going on here?
No, it was busy in a good way. I think, well, at that time I didn't understand because obviously they, they'll do like their prep
Hmm.
for the news when they're getting ready to go on. And then there was like the sports broadcasters, they're prepping and on one side, and then there's kids in the hallway, they're like getting their everything laid out and everything. They're talking about how they're meeting. So it to me, it was just like, it was just so busy in a good way.
Hmm.
So it was like, in like I said, I've even from my undergrad, I went to SUNY Oneonta. So, and I used to volunteer at the college radio station there. It was always quiet. It was just it was
Hmm.
just quiet. It was low key. Maybe you'll see like a handful of people, but not as how I saw WRHU and how the levels that they were. And then on top of that, to know that they were like the main broadcasters for the Islanders. And, so it was good to kind of see that representation, especially for Long Island. So, and to see the community, because as, I got into the training program, and as we came out of it and then we started going to the meetings, and you kind of see like how many people literally just kind of stuck with just being involved with the radio station, and coming up with different programmings and kind of getting introduced to them. So it was just like, oh wow, that's a good busy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm really interested in your journey in getting to Hofstra. So if you don't mind going back a little bit more, you said you went to SUNY Oneonta for undergrad. I guess my questions are, what were you studying? How did you get involved with the radio station there? And then if you don't mind making the jump, what brought you to Hofstra? I think you said for grad school.
Correct. Yeah. So Oneonta, I went for undergrad. I literally, my whole focus was music business, and so I did a dual degree, bachelor's degree. So I have my degree in business communications, and also a focus in regards to music industry business.
Hmm.
So, because literally, I right after Oneonta, I moved to New York City. I started working for music labels. I started off interning, and then I got hired literally 3 months after my internship. So I've always been in music. Music has always been something that's been my passion of mine, and what I stayed in, and writing. So I used to write for hip hop blogs as well. Still have some published pieces and things of that nature. So, and that's just what I literally stuck with. When I went to grad school, obviously I wanted to progress a little bit more when it came to the media, with just overall into the business, since I was working in the industry. And that's when I decided to kind of, focus on, media management and public relations, and in, marketing, things of that nature. Because at the label, I moved around. I was blessed to move around in different departments, having experience in marketing, A&R, and radio, which actually was crazy because I did a lot of radio promotion work while at Sony. And then I transitioned into digital production. That's where I kind of like to kind of expanded a little bit more, and working, doing campaigns and digital work. But yes, I literally that's just have like always been in my DNA, is just music or things like that. I think for me, radio, it was just so important, because I think at the time I'm thinking about how can I transition, this journalism.
Hmm.
And obviously I have some of my favorite hosts. We think about Oprah, we think about Angie Martinez, we think about some of the big names, that really been doing it and really hit the ground running. We think about Wendy Williams, and the way that they have a strategic way, and being able to, focus on whether if it's gospel or the news, or in any perspective of topic, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to do something in that matter, because I've always been passionate about music, and I've always been passionate about helping artists. So I really thought, and I think that was that pivotal moment for me when I was walking in the hallway. It was just like, how, like, what can I bring, and what can I do to be able to kind of mash the two together in a
Hmm.
sense. And that's just how it came together. And like I said, outside of that, I have a platform that's called Genius RS, that we would focus on independent artists and kind of developing them and giving them a platform to be able to storytell and be able to pitch their creative works, which is their music, and being able to merge that together. So we literally just, had that conversation and was just like, can we do this? And it was like, yeah, you have the voice, you got the people, let's do it.
Wow. Wow. How when do you find time to sleep? You got so many interests and so many things that you're doing. It's so cool. That's really interesting. I love to hear it. And I guess, I've talked to some people recently who showed up at the radio station like, I'm going to be an on-air play-by-play basketball guy, and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be a music. People walk in oftentimes to Hofstra Radio with a plan of exactly what they want to do. And
Hmm.
I guess if you don't mind, exploring this a little bit, it does. It sounds like you had a lot of ideas and a lot of experience and things that you did in your experience at SUNY Oneonta. Um, did you have an idea, or was it just sort of like, let's see what this is about? I'm going to try it out.
Well, the type of person I am, I like to kind of fill out first,
Mm,
right? And then kind of see what's going on. You kind of scope the room, you scope what's happening, you
sure.
kind of get to know, some of the other students and what they're doing and what's happening. And for me, it's just like I kind of look at the roster and kind of be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is the ideal. Like, how can I bring this in? And that's literally what I did. I kind of just went in asking questions, to understand first and foremost. That's one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I really feel like when you're in this type of industry, you always like you're always learning,
Yep.
because it's forever changing. And another thing is that always be the recipient to receive the education. So it's just like not going in regardless, because mind you, when I at Hofstra, I knew a lot of stuff, but
Hmm.
I didn't know radio as much. I knew some intricate certain things and how to. I've dealt with disc jockeys and talking to the radio stations and setting up meetings and setting up talent, things of that nature. But you always just want to learn, and
Yeah.
and I think that's for me. It's just like I kind of when they had that phrase like read the room in a sense, that's kind of
Hmm.
just what it was. I was just kind of standing back and just taking everything in and then ask questions. And then it's like, okay, well, I want to implement this. Can I do this? All right, would this fit here? Would this be good? And yeah, that's just what it is. So, you kind of sometimes people say, jump head first. But for me, it was just like, let me put my toe in, then my whole foot, then my leg, and we'll get the rest of the body there.
Yeah, there you go. So you show up and you meet Eli and you see what the station's about, and then there's a training class. And a lot of
Hmm.
people, especially when they first sign up, they're like, I did not know what to expect. I mean, most people say it's usually an hour long on, I think, Wednesday nights, and there's all kinds of studying and stuff to read and test. How did that how'd you react to that information when, because you're there for grad school, you've already done undergrad stuff, you've already done radio stuff, and now it's like, oh, we need you to take this training class in addition to the other things. What do you remember about that?
I'm gonna be honest, it was different
Mm,
because I remember when I first started working in the industry and things like that. There was this whole phrase, sink or swim. And some people really take the time with you, and then there was other times where it's like, okay, look, this is just put on your lap, and it's just like you figure it out, make it work
mm,
for you. However, which way you make it work, you swimming, right?
right.
So it was cool to actually see like there was an actual class where they kind of they at least give you the basics, right? In the back end, knowing how to engineer, knowing how to handle the production side of that, right?
Mm,
Um, I think also another part of it is sometimes just understanding like the personality and understanding you, because I think that everybody is not always fit for radio. But I went into this thinking like, oh, if I can learn at least how to do, the this part of it and engineer and be able to call and be able to do this and in production from what I already learned, like wow, I'm just adding on to what I know. That's pretty much it. So I enjoyed the class. It was fun. Bruce Avery, rest in peace to him, who always had a story. That was
uh-huh.
one thing. And it was enjoyable. So, of course sometimes you hate tests, but I enjoyed it. I look forward to it because I was like, oh, I know this. All right, I'm ready. I'm good. Let's go.
That's great, and I love to hear the the reference to Bruce, because so many people have stories about him and his speech that he gives when you first go up. I like to sleep at night, and the Starship Enterprise, and all those things.
Hmm.
He's always got his phrases, and it all it was all part of a plan, and he developed these over the years, and it's great to hear that that when you arrived, you got that information as well, and you get that greeting to the station. But you mentioned taking the test. And so I want to, thinking about the end of the class, you take the test, you get cleared to be on the air. Do you remember getting on the air the first time?
Yeah, I do actually. Oh my gosh. So I remember my actual first time on air. It was for the Hip Hop Basement. Obviously, Hip Hop Basement was on at the time. I believe, if I remember correctly, Saturdays. That I think at a 10, maybe 11. I think it was. And I was like, dog, I have a whole hour to do something. Like, oh man. Like, I think sometimes, when I first did it, it was like I overthought it a little bit. I was like, man, I'm just gonna, go on here. And because I think for me, it's just like when I produced, I've always, scripted out everything. I, prepare, and then when you're doing news, obviously you're fact checking and you're figuring, you just have everything laid out, right? And I went in, I was just like, well, this, talk simple, and I didn't show no personality, things like that. And then after I got done, I was just like, that was boring. Like, would I really want to listen to myself? Like, when you think about all of your DJs that you listen to,
Hmm.
and host on the radio, things of that nature, it's like you think about the life, you think about the energy, and the different variances of your tones when you're talking and things like that. And it's just about passion and just, spunk. And by the second show, I was on it. Like, I was just like, okay, I have a note to see, like, okay, this is what's going on. Like, I'll check and see what's happening in entertainment news. Like, okay, what I'm saying, and then we'll go on and have my list, and we have everything um in the Zeta and everything, all that prepared and all that stuff like that. And so then, yeah, by that second show, I was just like, okay, I'm just be me. How I sound right now, it's just like I'm bringing energy. I'm just gonna be Aasha. You know what I'm saying? I let them know, like, I sound proper, but I got this explosive personality, and that's just what I gave.
Wow, that's a lot of fun that you and that you had the awareness to say, this isn't really what I want to sound like. I want to do this, and to adapt that so quickly. And I guess a follow up question to that: the Hip Hop Basement, was that an existing show that was already on that someone was hosting, or is that something that you invented?
No, that if I remember correctly, they already had the Hip Hop Basement, but I don't think it was. I think it was probably maybe 2 years, or if I remember correctly, I know it was there before I started, but I think it wasn't there on their roster that long, or whatever the deal is. I
Got it.
think it was probably maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years old, or something like that. If I remember correctly. So please, for those who may hear this, don't judge me. I just don't remember. But yeah, but when I came into the picture, it was already there. I think I just kind of spiced it up a little.
Got it. Got it. Well, I was wondering if there were people that you were listening to, or learning from, or people that you interacted with that helped you get started. Were there other people doing the show, or other people that you went to for advice about how to present the show, or getting any feedback?
Um, So when I initially came onto the hip hop basement, so Edward, he was actually like another producer, and I kind of chopped it up with him,
Hmm.
and we vibed and worked together so well. So Ed and I worked very, very well together when it came to the hip hop basement, and we'll just literally like kind of pitch things off of each other. And then after a while, when we were doing it, what we were doing is like, I said, hey, I do this. I work with a lot of independent artists. And I was like, why don't we do some live sessions or whatever like that? And we'll do their interviews, and then we'll have them perform in the studio.
Wow.
And he, like, literally we ran with that, and then afterwards we'll take pictures and we'll just have a good time. And every artist that we bought out, we got did it to a point where we used to have like a little studio audience. Like, we'll bring in, a few students or whatever like that, just to come and sit there and literally watch the artist perform. Then that was a part of the hip hop basement, in which my platform Genius R Us actually partnered with that to be able to film, because we'll film it as well. And Edward will capture the audio portion of that as well, to for that to be included. So, and then after, I believe, 2 semesters, right before I was getting ready to graduate, then there was other individuals like Cameron. I used to call him Killer Cam. He was my dude. He'd come in, he'll take pictures, video, and he was also was learning how to produce as well. Which he actually took over the hip hop basement after I graduated. Him and Ed. And it was one other person on our team too. Oh my goodness. She was amazing. Stella. She
Hmm.
was good. Just kind of took them on, and just everybody worked so well together. Everybody just we just literally meshed and had a good time, and we made it fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best part of it when you're having fun on the air and when you've got a group of people that you like to work with. That's pretty exciting. And it sounds like you were bringing a lot of your different skills, a lot of the things that you've done previously, they're factoring in to your radio show. And I think that's really interesting that, you said you came in with an open mind, read the room, see what's going on, and said, okay, here's an opportunity. And there's all the things that you bring to it. I guess when you started doing the show, did you have an idea of what you wanted it to be? And like, did that change over time, or was it just week to week? Let's see what it is.
I think at first, like I said, it was just like kind of more coming in, kind of reading the room, like seeing, and observing, and seeing what's being said about it, like what's the thought about it from other individuals. And then for me, it's like, for me, my personality, I'm always gonna have ideals, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm very strategic in a sense. Like, I always want to make sure I'm coming in at the right time, right? And I think for me, it was just more of, well, let's see what they have to say. What's going on? Like, how do people really feel about it? Or, and that's what I did. I came in, I learned, I watched, I paid attention, I heard things. And so from there, and I was like, okay, bet. Like, I'll organize what my plan was, and went to go sit down and talk to, Eli, or talk to Bruce, or
John Mullen.
John. There we go, John. And John was like, he said, you have the energy, you got the voice for the radio. He was like, yes. He's like, if you're dedicated to doing it and you're going to execute, I don't see what the problem is. And that's all I needed. And that's what I did.
Hmm. One of the questions I usually ask, I think you've already answered it, but I'll ask it again anyway in this form. It's usually, when did you feel comfortable on the air? When did you know that you were, good and finding your voice? And it seems like, that first, second week when you're trying different things out and then you getting the ideas for bringing artists in. I guess the overall question is, when did you feel comfortable on the air? When did you feel like, okay, I've got this, I know what I'm doing?
By the time I did the second show, I was fine. I
Hmm.
think it's just more of the first time when I was on air, it's just like I was overthinking it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um I and only reason I'm saying that I was like overthinking is because, like I said, when you come from the background, and mind you, when I worked at the labels, and worked in promotions, and you're doing stuff for radio executives and things of that nature. It's just like, oh, this is what I'm working on. You in the back, okay, you writing the scripts, or you doing this, and you putting together out the promotion, all that stuff is different.
Yeah.
And then as a journalist, you have this particular style of how you're delivering, right? Mind you, my journalism is to get news, or I was working in news, or trying to just more informational. So it came off more relaxed, just straightforward, not a lot of energy, not a lot of personality. It's different.
Hmm.
So by the time I analyze that, because obviously when you hear, when obviously you're listen, you can hear everything and you listening back on it, it's just like, oh, that's how it was. Literally, I straightened up my act like by second show. I
Wow.
was like, oh, I'm coming in here with energy. I'm coming in here busting the door open. And that's exactly just what I did. And from there it just gets better. You don't come in as perfect, but you just know I just needed to change and do something different. And I cuz that's how serious I was about it. So
Hmm.
by second week, I was like, oh, I'm not even thinking about it. I already know. I'm just gonna organize whatever little notes, elaborate on that, make sure my songs are in order, get everything to play. All right, cool. And then that's it.
Wow, that's very impressive. That's very cool. Now you mentioned a couple times journalism and things like that. Were you doing anything with the radio station, with Newsline or the morning show? Were you doing anything journalistically there, or was that a separate part of your life?
So no, when I first started, so that it was separate outside of before WRHU. But when I did first join the radio station, I was a part. I believe, yeah, was it news? I think it was Newsline. Like, we'll come in, we'll do the reads. Sometimes we'll either do the weather, or we'll have something of a topic. We'll give a topic. We had to write about it prior to going on air. So I did that, and this is prior to me becoming the music producer with the hip hop basement. So I did that because, like I said, it was learning and understanding. Like, let me see what y'all doing, and can I do it? And that's just how I got involved.
Hmm. Hmm. I want to go back a little bit to that. I can't get over the your description of how busy it was and energetic and all that kind of stuff. Along those lines of being among all these students, especially people who might be a couple of years younger than you, did you find it took some time to get comfortable socially at the station, or did you just blend right in and get comfortable right away?
Oh no, now one thing about me and my personality, I've always been a people's person.
Hmm.
So and I have a lot of like confidence in myself, and where it's just like, either I'm gonna be somebody's cup of tea or I'm not gonna be their cup of tea. And even if I'm not your cup of tea, guess what? My focus is just what I'm doing at that present time, and that's just how my personality is. And try to be able to welcome everyone and just have fun. So I take to people. I can speak for myself taking to people in the sense of everything. But yeah, I didn't have, even if they were younger than me or whatever the deal is. Like I said, I've always got complimented, like, oh, you have such a baby face. I thought you was this. I thought you was
Hmm.
that. No problem. So I've always, didn't have a problem socially. I was able to talk, have conversations, ask questions, because the one thing about me is I'm gonna ask a question, okay,
Hmm.
and I want to know if anything. So, and I think that's just like the journalist in me. But yeah, no, never had an issue. Never had
Great.
an issue.
Great. Yeah, there's such a history throughout the decades at the radio station of people walking in and just finding a new family and a new home, and that's great. You were able to step in and do that right away. I want to go back to Hip Hop Basement and all the other things that you did at the radio station. Is there a proudest moment or a biggest accomplishment or an interview that you did that you were like that was like the top of my experience there?
Mm, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I really have like a favorite or just like a moment. I think for me, the moment overall was that I had a really good team. Like I said, Stella, Cameron, Edward. I think our dynamic was just so amazing, right? And sometimes, a lot of people don't have that, right?
Yeah.
And it makes every show so good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I think when you got a team that you can literally do your run throughs and say, okay, this is what we're gonna have for placement, this is what we're gonna have for interviews, and it just made it more easy. So I think it's that's why, honestly, I can personally say I didn't have a favorite moment, because every moment was just a moment. Like, every moment was a moment because I had a really good team. And like I said, at the end, when we're done with the interviews or we're done putting everything together and the performances, like, taking pictures and just kind of post it up, like made them everybody just feel so involved, and that, oh wow, we really did this. Like, this is something good. And I think that's why once I graduated and I was able to show the next individuals, and Ed was able to work and show the next busy individuals as well,
Mhm.
like that's why they was able to keep it going for whatever semesters on, continuing on afterwards. So that's what's memorable for me.
That's great. It's not about any one thing or accomplishment. It's about
Right.
the community. It's about the experience. It's about learning and growing. That's phenomenal. I love to hear that. Um, uh, I want to kind of wrap up with this question again, going back to showing up that one day and meeting Eli and going into the station, and just taking a chance on that. At that moment, when you walked in, when you chose that moment in the parking lot to turn around and walk in, at that moment, what did you hope the radio station would be, and what did it become for you?
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't think I was hoping for anything. That may sound crazy, but for me, I think the person that I am is just like, I've always say, how can I intertwine something? Like,
Mm,
I love being involved, right? I love getting into things that's meaningful. And like I said, when I got into it, I wasn't really like, oh my God, I have to do this. It was just like, this is interesting. I would love to learn it. And I'm the type of person, like I said, when you're in working in entertainment and you're working in, media, music, whatever, in those type of industries, it's forever changing. So you're forever evolving and learning.
yeah.
So this was just one other thing for me to take under my belt. I'm like, I want to learn this, right? And that's just what I did. And I didn't go in with no intention besides of, let me just see what this is about. And if I feel like there's something I want to be able to do with this, then I'll do it. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I think it was just God's, intervention and divine timing, just to be like, oh, Aisha, you know what, turn back around, go in the office. And that's what I did. So, thanks to Eli, thanks to Kenny Conrad, thanks to Edward, and also Sarah, who was one of the directors there at the time as well. And, like I said, to my team, Stella, and also Cam, Smiley. So the whole part, now when I look at it and I'm talking about it, to be honest with you, I just feel like the purpose was, I've learned, I executed, I paid attention, and it does help me in my roles now as management, and working in production and doing campaigns and doing that nature of that, of this industry. And then the fact that I was able to go in and somebody showed me something, and I was able to show other people
Right. Right.
in the short amount of time that I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I really, like I said, I don't think I really had any plans or any huge ideals to be like, oh well, let me just do this. I think I just kind of went in with the right attitude of, let me just see what this is about. Let me learn it. Let me see what it's about, and then let me see what else. What can I really bring to the table? That's it.
Wow. And it sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did. You got to make it what works for you, and the things like that. And you obviously, like I say, even though it's a college radio, and I think and I've seen where some students took it for granted. I've seen
Mm,
where it was, there's someone's passion, or I've seen this is just really someone's all in all, and what they really want to do, right? And you see all different perspectives. Some was just doing it because they were trying to get a grade, or something something was going on. So there's different mindsets, attitudes, perspectives, all the above, right? Like I said, for me, I went in just observing it, and then I said, okay, let me take what I can learn from here.
mm.
And it was amazing. So I made it how I made it for me.
That's amazing. That's great stuff. I've so enjoyed this. This has been so much fun, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your stories. And I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you definitely for reaching out, and being able to have this sit down with me. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.